And we have some questions that we'd like to, well, some topics that may be relevant for this particular mix of speakers. Shyam, are you on? Yep. Would you like to start with some questions?
Thank you, Aki. Thanks to all the speakers for joining. This is going to be a very short panel discussion. So let's see if we can quickly get your thoughts on some very weighty topics that actually would take hours to discuss. But we'll do what we can. So, the goal of this is really to seed new collaborations. Okay, I talked about IDA earlier today. How can we have more such consortia across countries within HCA Asia? And so these are some of the questions we want to address for that. What atlases can we build together? Right? So which cohort, which tissue, which technology, which metadata, how will it be different and competitive compared to what people are in the rest of the world are doing? How will it be relevant to Asian funders? And you know, cross country batch effects. Well, how does that limit us? And again, way more questions than we can address in 10 minutes. How do we want to do this? So, okay, maybe I'll go around the room here very quickly. If you can propose some ideas for the key question, right, which is, let's say this one. And the number one thing, I think we're comfortable that given a tissue bank, given a cohort and given a tissue bank, we will be able to generate some single cell data out of it. So perhaps we can come up with ideas for cohorts and tissues specifically, that multiple teams might be interested in, might be able to put together across countries. And we can go in order of speakers. I don't know if all the speakers from this session are still here, but I'll go to Goji first.
Okay, I think these are definitely very important questions. I would like to make some comments. First of all, I think the next stage Cell Atlas project, I have to admit that it must be 10x based Atlas. This really helps for the integration of the data, and 10x version 3 is very sensitive and it's commercially available. And in that case, if people agrees to use 10x, then the Asian specific atlas alone is very unique. I mean, you can compare that with the European atlases, and Xiang has done beautiful work. I'm pretty sure this cohorts, in particular in Asia, there are so many different populations, right? And this will be extremely valuable data to compare. And then on the other hand, I think in China, there are very ambitious and young labs that is trying to beat 10x with new technology. So we should leave that open. So nobody knows who thinks that, you know, who perhaps 10x is not the ultimate single cell technology. And perhaps one day we have other technology with higher throughput and more sensitivity. We should leave that open. But at the current stage, I think what Xiang has been proposing is extremely beautiful. And then regarding the Asian funders, this is challenging because we know that like funders in China and funders in US. I mean, now it's not it's not a perfect time for these kind of fundings to you know, go across different regions. But I guess if only the technology is consistent and the analysis pipeline is consistent, there is no problem with the data integration and so on and so forth. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Goji. Let me go to, I don't know if we have John Chambers with us still. So we'll go to, actually, why don't we go to Aki, and maybe rather than go through all the questions, because then we'll run out of time. Aki, do you want to just address the first bullet point?
Let me just bring up the first one.
What
what atlases we can build, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, throughout this session, we heard a lot of common things, and obviously this is, it has the word aging in it in this session. So naturally, we picked some of those, but I think there are obviously some common interests and that we can come together with. So I'm actually also want to pose the question of like, would it be beneficial for any of us and many of us to come together and share information on what aspects we're working on? I don't think we are all focusing on the same things. Many of us have different biological questions and angles, and even validation approaches. So I just want to put it up there on the table. Would it make any sense to form groups of common interest, such as, let's say, aging, as an example, one of the examples, within Asia, and what would be the benefit of getting together in Asia compared to, there are other working groups outside, of course, worldwide. So I would like to get your opinions on this. And I do have to say, I know this is not scientific at all, but the time difference with, Europe and US, it does make it difficult for us to even get a reasonable time zone to talk about this. So yeah, I'd love to hear your opinions. How about if I can just ask, does anybody have
Please, go ahead.
Comment? I was going to ask Jing, and then maybe Kylie in terms of aging.
In terms of aging, thank you very much for asking me. So what we are very interested in the both opposite ways, aging and aging interventions. There are so many ways we can retard aging. Here I introduced the calorie restriction, but there are a lot of ways, such as reprogramming and also some of the drugs, for example, the metformin. And we also try to find more geroprotective drugs and also the senolytic drug. So we'd like to compare them together with the aging atlas. Yeah, so
that would definitely be interesting to integrate all of those conditional data sets. Kylie, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure, thanks. I think this is a really interesting question that you raise about whether we can join forces in a way in the Asia Pacific. Right. And I think that's one thing that over in Europe they do very well is they have, because of the time zones and its distance as well. But if we could work towards, going forward, having meetings when we present data that isn't necessarily finished or proposed data or, proposed work kind of thing and see where we can synergize. I think that would be really strong. And I think in terms of cohorts that we can build together, and we're doing this and we'll hear a lot about this, I think, tomorrow, is disease atlases that are relevant to Asia Pacific, and also, groups of people like our Indigenous populations. I would love to see that they were represented, and I know that work's going on, but I think that's an area that, of course, we have the advantage of.
Right.
Yeah, my take.
Yeah. So actually, that reminds me also, there would be an added benefit of getting together, possibly to think about applying for some additional fundings when they come into play. And if there are already certain, aspects that are commonly interest amongst us, and we can get together and apply for such thing, not only just looking at the data together. Great. Shyam, should we pick on another topic or?
Well, we're more or less out of time. Maybe what I can suggest is we just give the remaining speakers one sentence each to say how they might be able to contribute or to an international HCA Asia consortium, or if they have some ideas for one. So who's left? Who are our remaining speakers from this session? We haven't gone.
Jump in if you'd like, Sean.
Please. Yeah.
This is the thing that really jumped out at me very quickly when I looked at your great bullet points here, thinking about the work that I'm involved in, is that there would be a great way to generate sort of patient-specific organoids in all of the different cohorts, all the different regions, that could together be a really fantastic baseline for personalised medicine on a country-specific basis.
Sounds excellent. Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken yet on the panel?
How about Jong-Yoon?
Jong-un, yeah.
I mean, right now our lab is mainly interested in making like a mega atlas connecting many different data sets. So I think there can be a cumulative effort and collaborative effort of really making a single coherent pipeline or skeleton for the single cell data sets.
Very good, very important. And I think we've got everyone. If anyone hasn't contributed yet, please let us know. If not, thank you so much for a really exciting session covering so many different aspects of atlasing, and hope this discussion can continue. We have more panel discussions in HCA Asia, but now we have to have a short break and then come back for the next round. Thank you.
So I believe we're taking 15 minutes break for lunch. Sorry, we had to reduce it a little bit because we're running over time a little bit. We apologize for that. But if we can come back in 15 minutes, that would be really great for the next session. Thank you all.